You don't need an alarm clock. Your body wakes you every night, like clockwork, at 3 a.m. No crisis, no sound, just you and the darkness. Why does this keep happening? Is it age? Is it stress? Or is it something deeper? Something your body is trying to tell you? This isn't just a sleep problem. It's a message. And if you've been waking up in the middle of the night wondering what's wrong, this might be the video that finally makes it all make sense. 1. Reduced melatonin production. Melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep, decreases with age. Lower levels by 2 to 3 a.m. can cause the brain to slowly drift toward wakefulness. Sensitivity to light increases, making even dim light disruptive. Example, Harold, 72, improved his sleep by adjusting lighting and pre-bed routines. You roll over, open your eyes, and there it is again, 3:07 a.m. No sound, no crisis, no reason. Just silence and the persistent feeling that sleep has slipped away without warning. If you're an older adult or caring for one, you know this moment well. It doesn't happen once. It happens over and over. And it's not just frustrating. It's confusing, sometimes even frightening. You lie there wondering, why now? Why always 3 a.m.? Is it a sign of something wrong? Is it your mind, your body, or something deeper? The truth is, this isn't just a random inconvenience. It's one of the most overlooked signals of aging, and understanding it could change the way you sleep, the way you live, and even the way you reflect on time itself. Because waking at 3 a.m. isn't a flaw in your body. It's a clue, a message from a system that's evolving, not breaking. And today, we're going to unpack it, one layer at a time, with science, stories, and soul. Let's start with the first and most biological reason, melatonin. This hormone is the quiet conductor of your sleep orchestra, rising gently as darkness falls, guiding your body into slumber. But here's the thing. As we age, melatonin fades. Your brain produces less of it, and what used to be a long, steady arc of sleep becomes a brief flicker, especially by the time the night's deepest hours arrive. Around 2:30 or 3 a.m., melatonin levels often drop just enough for the brain to lift its foot off the gas, easing out of sleep instead of holding you there. And with less melatonin comes less defense against the small disruptions, the creaking pipe, the light from a street lamp, the ache in your hip that didn't bother you hours ago. Suddenly, you're awake. Not in crisis, not fully alert, but enough to feel the quiet press against you. I once spoke with Harold, a retired teacher in his early 70s, who told me every morning he woke at 3:15 sharp, as if someone whispered in his ear. He'd lie in bed until sunrise, frustrated, wide-eyed, wondering if he was broken. But when he started adjusting his light exposure, lowering blue light in the evening, walking outside in the morning, even adding dim red lamps for his evening reading, he didn't stop waking up, but he stopped panicking about it. He said, "I stopped fighting it, and I started listening to it." That's the shift. Waking up early isn't a malfunction. It's a reflection of the new rhythms your body's adopting. And the more you understand the chemistry behind it, the more power you have to support it instead of resenting it. Second shifted sleep cycle, advanced sleep phase. The body's internal clock, circadian rhythm, shifts earlier. Older adults often fall asleep early and wake up earlier, thinking something is wrong. Lifestyle changes like retirement and quiet environments amplify this shift. Example, Charles, 68, adjusted his evening routine and experienced better alignment. There's a strange trick time plays as we get older, not in the number of hours we live, but in how we feel them. It starts gradually. You find yourself going to bed earlier, not because you're tired, but because the evening feels longer than it used to. Maybe the house is quieter, the phone rings less, the TV shows blur together. So by 8:30 or 9, you're tucked in, lights off, thinking sleep will follow because it always has. And it does, for a while. But then, right on cue, your eyes open at 3 a.m. and your brain says, "Morning?" That's what scientists call advanced sleep phase syndrome. And it's more common than you think in older adults. Your circadian rhythm, your internal clock, isn't broken. It's just shifting, rewinding to a schedule more common in childhood or ancient biology when sunrise and sunset dictated everything. The problem isn't that you're waking up too early. It's that modern life expects you to sleep through it anyway. And here's the truth. Many older adults confuse this shift with insomnia, but it's not insomnia. It's misalignment. Your body thinks it's time to wake up because, according to its signals, you've already had your full night's rest. You went to bed at 9 p.m., so by 3 a.m., that's 6 hours. And in a world where light, noise, and activity taper off early, your brain believes it's doing the right thing. Let me tell you about Charles, a 68-year-old retiree who couldn't understand why his 3 a.m. wake-ups were getting worse. He tried melatonin, white noise, herbal teas, but nothing helped. When we talked about his routine, I discovered he was eating dinner at 5 p.m., watching a little TV, then going to bed around 8:30. His day started winding down before most people's had ended. So we flipped the script. He pushed dinner back to 7, added a short evening walk, and resisted the pull to sleep until 10 p.m. Within a week, his wake-up still happened, but at 4:30 instead of 3, and by the end of the month, he was sleeping until nearly 5:30. He didn't need a pill. He needed a new rhythm. That's the secret most people miss. Your sleep cycle isn't fixed in stone. It's responsive, trainable, and influenced by the patterns you create. And if your body thinks it's midnight when the clock says 9 p.m., then of course you'll be waking up when it thinks morning has come. But shift your inputs, light, food, activity, and you shift your output. You're not broken. You're adapting. And with just a few small changes, your 3 a.m. wake-up call could become a thing of the past, or at the very least, something you understand instead of fear. 3. Physical discomfort or health interruptions. Chronic pain, e.g., arthritis, acid reflux, bladder issues, and medication side effects can disrupt sleep. The body becomes more sensitive to discomfort and changes in temperature or hydration. Example: Eleanor, 76, discovered her medication timing contributed to early wake-ups. It's easy to blame the mind for sleep troubles, but more often than not, it's the body whispering in the dark, asking for help it can no longer shout for. Because aging doesn't just change how we think, it changes how we feel, especially when the world goes quiet and our awareness has nowhere else to go but inward. That's why, for so many older adults, waking up at 3 a.m. isn't about stress or dreams. It's about discomfort, sometimes subtle, sometimes sharp, always unwelcome. It could be your hips, your bladder, your back, your digestion, or a combination of all of them rising together in that silent hour. And here's the cruel irony. During the day, distractions help you cope, but at night, those same aches and twinges become thunder in the stillness. This isn't insomnia. It's the body waving a flag, not in panic, but in protest. Take Eleanor, 76, sharp-witted, lively, and fiercely independent. She started waking at 3 a.m. every night and blamed it on worry or a racing mind. But when her doctor adjusted the timing of her heart medication, she noticed a shift. It turned out the drug was lowering her blood pressure too much overnight, leading to dizziness and nighttime awakenings. Once the schedule changed, her wake-ups weren't gone, but they were manageable. And that's the key. When you're aging, your body's feedback loop becomes more sensitive and less predictable. The same cup of tea that helped you sleep at 40 might send you to the bathroom at 70. The recliner that once soothed your back may now pinch your spine. And your old mattress? It might be the biggest betrayal of all. And it's not just pain, it's digestion too. Reflux, gas, bloating. These can all peak during the early hours, especially if dinner is eaten late or lying down happens too soon after meals. And sometimes it's not about food or meds. It's simply the fragility of the nervous system as it ages, becoming more attuned to every shift in temperature, blood sugar, or joint pressure. What used to be background noise now becomes a siren at 3 a.m. So what can you do? Start with awareness. Keep a sleep journal. Note what you ate, how you moved, how you slept, and what time your discomfort arrives. Then bring that to your doctor, not just with a request for sleep aids, but with a map of your body's patterns. Because the goal isn't to knock yourself out. It's to understand why your body wakes up. Sometimes it's not about treating sleep, but treating what's keeping you from it. You deserve rest, yes. But more than that, you deserve comfort. And in your final chapters, comfort isn't a luxury. It's a human right. 4. Lifestyle habits that shift sleep rhythms. Early dinners, lack of evening stimulation, and daytime inactivity signal the body to rest earlier. Early bedtime leads to earlier wake time. Example, Walter, 74, adjusted daily activities to reset his sleep rhythm. There's a reason the world feels heavier at 3 a.m., and it's not just the silence. It's what the silence lets in. Because during the day, there are distractions. The news, a neighbor's voice, the rattle of a teacup, the ache of routine. But at night, all of that falls away, and what's left is memory, regret, grief, and the kind of thoughts we spend entire lifetimes trying to keep at bay. 3 a.m. doesn't just wake the body, it awakens the parts of the mind we'd rather leave sleeping. This is the hour when the heart remembers what the mind tries to forget. Gloria, 80 years old, once told me that 3 a.m. was the loneliest time of day, not because she was scared, but because that's when she remembered everyone she'd lost. Her husband, her sister, her dog, all gone, yet more present in those early hours than at any other time. And even though she was surrounded by family during the day, she said, "I still feel like I'm the last person in a house no one lives in anymore." She wasn't sad all the time, just when the world went quiet enough to let the sadness speak. And that's what so many forget about aging. It's not just about physical decline, it's about emotional layering. Grief doesn't fade with time. It becomes part of the atmosphere. And at 3 a.m., when there's no TV, no conversation, no chores left to finish, that atmosphere gets thick. The mind starts to drift, to replay old scenes, to ask impossible questions. Did I do enough? Should I have said more? Why am I still here? These aren't signs of depression. They're signs of depth. They're reminders that when people age, they don't just slow down. They process more. They carry a life's worth of memories, choices, and unanswered letters. And in the stillness, those letters demand to be read. So what helps? For Gloria, it wasn't medication. It was a ritual. Every night before bed, she lit a candle and wrote one sentence in a notebook. Sometimes a memory, sometimes a hope, sometimes just a name. She called it her midnight insurance, a way of honoring the past without letting it consume her. Over time, she said the 3 a.m. awakenings didn't stop, but they softened. She no longer feared the silence. She welcomed it, because it had a place to land. If you or someone you love wakes at 3 a.m. with the weight of emotions too big to hold alone, know this: that weight is real, but it doesn't have to crush you. You can write, pray, breathe, sit by a window and whisper to the stars. You can name what hurts and still let morning come. Because healing doesn't happen in broad daylight. It often starts in the dark, when you stop running from the quiet and start learning how to listen to it. 5. Emotional and psychological restlessness. The quiet hours often awaken emotional thoughts, regrets, or memories. Loneliness, grief, or unresolved reflections surface when distractions fade. Journaling or nighttime rituals can ease this type of waking. Example: Gloria, 80, used writing and reflection to manage emotional wakefulness. Sometimes, the very routines we trust to keep us steady become the quiet culprits behind our restlessness, especially as we age. And while the 3 a.m. wake-up might feel mysterious, the truth is that it often begins hours earlier, disguised as harmless habits we never think to question. Things like early dinners, afternoon naps, skipping sunlight, or winding down too soon. None of these feel dangerous, and yet they slowly reshape your sleep cycle until 3 a.m. no longer feels like the middle of the night, but the beginning of your day. Walter, 74, was the picture of routine. Up at 6, breakfast by 7, lunch at noon, dinner at 5, lights out by 9. He thought he was doing everything right. No caffeine, no screens, quiet evenings. But each night, without fail, he would wake up around 3:15, alert and confused. At first he blamed age, then his mattress, then his bladder. But the real issue was simpler. His life had become too quiet, too early. Without knowing it, Walter had created a world where his body thought nighttime began in the early evening. So of course it thought morning began in the dark. The body, especially as it ages, responds to what it experiences, not what the clock says. If you dim the lights at 7, eat your last meal by 5, stop moving after sunset, and sit alone in silence until bed, your internal clock starts shifting forward. That's how the body works. It adapts to rhythm, not reason. What made the difference for Walter wasn't melatonin or meditation. It was stimulation. We adjusted his evening routine, pushed dinner to 6:30, added a short post-dinner walk, played music from his youth around 8 p.m., and introduced a new habit: writing 1 letter per night to someone he hadn't spoken to in years. He started calling it Memory Hour, and it became a bridge between evening and night. Within a week, he noticed something stunning. He was still waking at 3:30, but instead of feeling startled, he felt calm. Within 3 weeks, his sleep began to stretch naturally to 4, then 5. By the end of the month, he was waking with the sun. This isn't a miracle, it's biology. Your body wants rhythm, but it also wants relevance. When your evenings lose texture, when your life goes from active to idle too early, your brain takes that as a cue that the day is done, even if it's not. And once you start sleeping at 9, waking at 3 isn't insomnia, it's the completion of a full cycle. The solution isn't to force yourself to sleep longer, it's to live later. Find rituals, small joys, new habits that gently stretch your evening without overstimulating. A phone call, a crossword puzzle, a slow walk with a neighbor. These aren't just tasks, they're tethers to the world that tell your brain, we're not done yet. Because sometimes the key to sleeping through the night isn't found in the dark, it's found in what you choose to do with the light before it fades. We've been told that waking up at 3 a.m. is a problem to fix, a flaw to medicate, a sign that something's broken. But what if it's something else? What if it's a conversation? A quiet, persistent invitation from your body and soul asking you to pay attention, not to fear the stillness, but to understand it. Because the truth is, your body is not betraying you. It's evolving. It's responding to years of change, memory, rhythm, and adaptation. Every night you wake up early, frustrated, thinking you failed. You haven't. You've simply missed the message. That message might be physical, a pain you haven't acknowledged, a medication you've tolerated but no longer suits you, a bladder, a hip, a heartbeat shifting in subtle ways. It might be emotional, unspoken grief, quiet loneliness, or the weight of a memory that returns without warning in the quiet hours when the noise of the world fades away. It might be habitual, a well-meaning routine that no longer aligns with your needs, a life lived on rhythms that belonged to another chapter of you, when maybe now it's time for a new one. Or it might be spiritual, a space where the soul whispers louder than usual, asking you to slow down, reflect, be still, and listen, not just to the clock, but to yourself. Waking at 3 a.m. doesn't always need a cure. It needs curiosity. It needs compassion. It needs a new approach that doesn't begin with trying to force sleep, but begins with asking why you woke up at all, what your body is telling you, what your habits are teaching you, what your memories are still holding on to. And if you can respond not with frustration, but with gentleness, if you can walk into the next night with awareness and not fear, then you haven't just solved a sleep issue. You've opened a door to deeper understanding. Because aging isn't about decline, it's about listening better. And sometimes the best place to listen is in the quietest part of the night.